Hi everyone, Miss Bina here. So, it's winter time and we are going to talk about winter squash. The funny thing about winter squash is we actually think about winter squash when we think about fall time because that's when we harvest winter squash. Winter squash has been growing all summer and in the fall we harvest them. So we think about Halloween with the pumpkins and the jack-o'-lanterns, and we think about pumpkin pie with Thanksgiving. But the thing about winter squash, and maybe why it's called winter squash, is that winter squash will actually store all winter long. Because winter squash, all winter squash, and pumpkins are a variety of winter squash, have a very thick skin. And so if you were to place these winter squash or pumpkins in a very cool place, about 50 degrees, but not too cold, then you could store them from anywhere from 2 to 6 months and still be eating them the whole time. So, quite often we think about winter squash as being decorations. They're very colorful, fun shapes, and they are fun to look at, and so that's great to have them as a decoration. But let's also remember that they are edible. They are food and we can eat them, so please don't throw them away. They're also very nutritious, so they contain a lot of fiber, which helps our digestion. They contain the mineral potassium, which is really great for our hair and our skin. They actually contain more potassium than bananas. This one weighs 23 pounds, which you can understand is a lot of food, and it can be a little bit kind of hard to think about preparing all of that food for your use. So today what we're going to do is we are going to take apart one of our big winter squash, and in this case the one we're going to be taking apart is going to be called a fairy tale pumpkin, and we're going to be cooking with some of it and putting the rest away for later. So Ovid and Nala are going to be demonstrating how to do that. Let's go see.
Hi, I'm Nala.
And I'm Ovid.
And today we're going to get this fairy tale squash ready to cook.
Woo!
I like this half. So now we're going to scoop out the seeds from the squash to either plant later or roast and eat. So now, as you can see, there's no seeds or pulp inside, and it kind of looks like a little den or cave.
Okay, I'm gonna bake my squash because I want to make pies and other baked goods like bread, cake, and cookies. In order to bake my thing in the oven, I'm going to put it in this tray, face down, and then I'm going to pour half an inch of water. And now I'm going to bake this for an hour and a half. The oven degree should be set at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius.
I'm going to use my side of the squash in savory dishes like soup, curry, or just sauteed with some other vegetables. So in order to do that, I'm going to cut it into smaller chunks and peel the thick skin off with this carrot peeler. So as you can see, I've peeled the squash and I've made a terrible mess with the peels. And so I'm going to take these peels, put them in the bowl, this bowl right here, and then we're going to bring them to the compost so the worms can be fed. And once I do that, I will be ready to take my squashes and cut them into cubes. So now all my squash is cut into little pieces, and some of them will go into our soup for tonight's dinner, and some will go in this airtight container in the refrigerator, which can be stored up to 6 days. So this is ready for our soup tonight. This
oven and let it cool down. Now I'm going to scoop the insides out into this bowl. Okay, I've separated the insides from the skin. Now, the insides are the important part. Let's just kind of push the skin aside to be composted. Okay, now that we've done that, time to turn this into a puree. Now, you can use a food processor, blender, stick blender, but I'm going to go old school and use this good old potato masher. Okay, today I want to make a pumpkin pie. Most pumpkin pie recipes call for a 15-ounce can of pumpkin. In order to get 15 ounces of pumpkin, I'm going to use this 2-cup measuring cup. Okay, now in order to get 15 ounces, I'm going to measure up to this line, which is 1 3/4 cup. Now that I've taken out the amount I need, I'm going to freeze the rest for later use. I'm going to use these pint jars to freeze my leftovers in. Okay, now remember to be careful when freezing liquids in jars, because if you overfill it, the liquids will expand and break the jar. These jars have a very helpful line which says, for freezing, fill here, which gives us a bit of headroom so the thing can expand without, blowing up the jar. Remember to only use straight-sided jars. They're the most efficient in the freezer. Now I'm ready to make my pie and I have 3 pints left over to go in the freezer.
Your next time, goodbye!